Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this discussion this afternoon on promoting Ghana's circular plastics economy as part of the World Circular Economy Forum. Before we begin, whilst people, I think, are coming into the meeting room, I just wanted to share a bit of housekeeping and ask everybody as you're engaging, just to first realize that this session is being recorded. So we will be posting this later as well on YouTube, but you'll see also quite hopefully a bit of interaction here live. We'd also really welcome questions. So if you could please put your questions into the Q&A feature here. The discussion has been designed to be two-way. So we're hoping to take on board quite a few of the questions that come in today from the audience. So if you can, please put those into the chat function and or the Q&A function. We will certainly try to address those either live through the panelists or perhaps being typed up as we go. So please do let us know, let our technical team know if you have any challenges, and you can communicate with us directly in the chat box. Finally, we'd ask you to rename yourself as you're joining. It'd be great to know everybody who's here, who's the institution, so we understand who you're representing. You can do this by right-clicking on your name in the participants list and you select your name. Please don't change somebody else's name in the process. The first item on our agenda is to ensure that everybody who's here today is here to discuss the circular economy for plastics in Ghana and the National Plastic Action Partnership. So we thought we might open it up to a poll, see where you are, see the diversity, perhaps also of geography. So please, without further ado, take a bit of time in the middle of changing your name and your institution. We'd love to hear exactly where you are based. We'll take a few seconds for this. The poll is now, yeah, you can see it here. And we appreciate assembling the responses. We'll share them with you as soon as we have them collected. Just a nice way to get folks to engage directly, to understand the clicking and the typing. And in the meantime, if you can also, again, think about renaming yourself and adding your institution so we understand who's all engaging with us today. Great. Hello, Veronica. Thank you for saying hello. It's nice to see people chatting already in the chat box. You can also, again, ask questions to even other participants in the chat and the Q&A. So welcome. Wow, look at that. Quite a significant number of folks joining today from Europe, but also West Africa, Asia, where it must be quite late. So thank you for that. And Central, South America, North America, and Asia. So welcome all. So I'm Kristen Hughes. I'm the director of the Global Plastic Action Partnership, and we're really excited to be moderating. I'm very excited to be moderating this panel today on promoting Ghana's circular plastics economy as part of the World Circular Economy Forum. And to kick off our conversation today is a very esteemed colleague of ours, a great leader, the Honorable Minister Frimpong Boateng, who has been leading the efforts of the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership as co-chair, and without whose leadership we would certainly not be here today. So with some pre-recorded comments from the Minister, over to you.
Ms. Kristen Hughes, Director of GPAP at the World Economic Forum, invited participants, ladies and gentlemen. Ghana's National Plastics Action Partnership is a strategic partnership that has come to add tremendous value to Ghana's strategy towards the management of plastics in our country and has strengthened our capacity to achieve the objectives that we seek to achieve with the National Plastics Management Policy. At the launch of the National Plastics Action Partnership in October 2019, I said that by putting concrete standards and policies in place to guide the transition towards a circular plastics economy, we will achieve a myriad of positive outcomes for Ghana. 1 year after the launch, I'm even more convinced about that. and there's every indication that we are on track to achieve our objectives. I wish to take this opportunity to bring to your attention a few achievements that have occurred since the launch. I'm happy to announce that the National Plastics Management Policy received Cabinet approval in June 2020. A Resource Recovery Secretariat is being established to coordinate the implementation of the Plastic Management Policy. The Secretariat will be responsible for supporting and incentivizing new and existing actors and entrepreneurs to join in the national effort to achieve comprehensive plastics management and sustainable development across the nation, across society, and across the economy. It is very gratifying to see the commitment of senior level executives of key stakeholder institutions such as the World Bank, UK High Commission in Ghana, the Canadian High Commission in Ghana, UNDP, UNIDO, Coca-Cola, Dow Chemicals, and Nestle, working together to achieve the objectives of NPAP. Through NPAP, Ghana has secured recognition and a place on the world map as a key partner in the global effort to fight the plastic menace. Indeed, through NPAP, Ghana is developing a functioning framework for circular economy in the plastic sector. Under NPAP, Ghana is on track to become a regional center of excellence when it comes to the management of plastics. This event under the World Circular Economy Forum is one opportunity for Ghana to showcase what is being done in the country to support the global effort to confront the menace of plastics in a sustainable way. I welcome you all to this event and urge every one of you to participate actively in the discussions. I thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Minister, for those incredibly insightful and inspiring words. We're so grateful for your leadership and engagement in this topic. And indeed, we feel Ghana has really taken some huge steps forward with the launch of the National Plastic Action Partnership. And we're very excited to be partnering with you on that. So I'm Kristen Hughes. I'm the director of the Global Plastic Action Partnership. And I just wanted to give a quick brief intro into the Global Plastic Action Partnership and the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership, and then we'll kick off for our panelists today. The Global Plastic Action Partnership is a multi-stakeholder public-private platform that is seeking to address plastic waste and pollution. We were created just a little over 2 years ago under the leadership of the United Kingdom and Canada, as well as private sector partners, the Coca-Cola Company, Nestle, PepsiCo, and Dow. Global Plastic Action Partnership is dedicated to translating commitments to reduce plastic pollution and waste into concrete action across geographies. And one of our very first national partnerships has been with Ghana, and we're just so pleased to be working with Minister Frimpong Boateng and other leaders from across the plastics value chain to promote a circular economy for plastics. Plastic pollution and waste is a global challenge of immense proportion. I'm sharing some statistics here that I'm sure many of you have seen before, but let's just re-emphasize just how great a problem it is we are trying to address. That 8 million tons of plastic waste leaks into the ocean every year. Globally, less than 15% of all plastics produced are even recycled. And until recently, a large proportion of plastic waste intended for recycling was exported, a source of controversy due to inadequate infrastructure for proper disposal in importing countries. And this is why the Global Plastic Action Partnership was created, to try to help us to address this, especially given everything that's happened this year with COVID-19 pandemic and the only increasing growth that we've seen in plastic waste and pollution. As part of our strategic approach, the Global Plastic Action Partnership has been founded on 3 main pillars, and this is really where we're emphasizing our energy. The first is to convene communities and curate conversations. And by doing this, we pull together all sorts of stakeholders, as you'll hear from today on this esteemed panel, such a diverse group across the plastics value chains with government and private sector and civil society. The second main focus is for us to generate new insights, and from those insights and data analysis, creating data baselines for countries to understand plastic waste flows, and from there to devise action roadmaps that can really lead to concrete impact that supports the country's direction in trying to address the plastic menace. And finally, we are exploring the actions needed to break down the barriers to financing and de-risking investments in the circular economy for plastics. How can we achieve financial investments in infrastructure, and by mobilizing and attracting funding from our partners to also support great innovations? So we're so pleased to be working with the government of Ghana. And as you heard here today, Minister Frimpong Boateng, of course, but also we see here a wonderful photo from last year's launch of the National Plastic Action Partnership. It took place just a little over a year ago, and it's really brought to life, even amongst COVID. I've been so pleased by the energy and the inspiration of the Technical Committee of the National Plastic Action Partnership. And we hear that commitment continue today from the President, from Minister Boateng, and those throughout the value chain for plastics. And finally, I wanted to share with you very briefly, you saw a moment ago some global statistics on plastic waste and pollution, but I also wanted to share with you a few of these statistics specifically for Ghana. You can see just what an important topic this is for our beloved country. And so we're so excited then that we're bringing together a handful of really important players who are dedicated to this space. And by the way, I know that a lot of you on the call today are already working really closely. I can see your names, and we've either met in Ghana or been on calls during the COVID lockdown. So thank you for your energy across the country of Ghana. One of the key lessons we've learned is that when it comes to about solving any global issue, it can't be solved by governments alone. The private sector must also come to the table to really see progress. For us to eradicate plastic pollution, it cannot be done by any one single actor, but through the progressive and collaborative action of many. And as today, you will hear from a number of different actors from across the plastics value chain in Ghana. And that's why I'm excited to actually now turn it over to this panel to really dive into the discussion we're here for today. Today, you'll hear from Minister Oliver Boakye, Special Advisor to the Ministry of the Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Government of Ghana. Margaret Mary, Regulatory and Scientific Affairs Manager, Nestle, Ghana Limited. Paulo Stella, he's the head of the Environment and Climate Cluster, UNDP, has long been focusing on this issue in Ghana, creating the waste platform, and we look forward to also hearing a lot about the progress of the UNDP. Thank you, Paulo. And last but not least, Mr. Clem Ugori, Vice President for Public Affairs, Communications and Sustainability in West Africa, the Coca-Cola Company. So without further ado, I think we'll turn it over to our panelists. And maybe I'll just throw out a few questions that I've thought of in advance, and then we can start to interweave some of the questions that will come about from our audience. Oliver, I think I'll start with you for this one. You were the first person I met when I came to Ghana to start having conversations. Actually, you came to Geneva and we started talking about the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership. And I think a lot has happened since we first started those conversations. Be curious to hear representing the Ghanaian government about how has the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership progressed to date? What has it achieved? And more specifically, what are the ministry's ambitions for the National Plastic Action Partnership? And how do you think this platform will serve to further MESTI's objectives for the plastic sector? Oliver, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. As you all heard from our Honorable Minister a few minutes ago, Ghana has established a National Plastics Action Partnership through a collaborative partnership with the World Economic Forum. The primary goal of this partnership is to support Ghana to translate the objectives of its national plastics management policy into actual activities on the ground. And so at a very high level, that is what MESTI's expectations are for NPAP. The main objective of the National Plastics Management Policy are: 1, to achieve a clean environment devoid of plastic waste, to create profitable businesses and well-paying jobs along the plastics value chain, to improve the living standards of the informal sector actors within the plastic value chain, especially the vulnerable ones among us, such as women and children, and to establish Ghana as a regional model for a plastics economy regime, for a circular economy regime in Africa. Already, these expectations are being realized, thanks in large part to the partnership with GPAP. First of all, NPAP and MESTI have adopted GPAP's proven 3-pillar delivery strategy to pursue the country's plastics management ambition. The pillars are: 1, to create knowledge and use data and evidence-based models to conduct a baseline analysis of the plastics flows in Ghana. 2, to use the results of the baseline analysis to develop a national action roadmap of interventions to tackle the sources and flow of plastic waste, including financing strategies. And 3, to leverage on the network of World Economic Forum's global partners and investors to attract investment into the plastic value chain in Ghana. So far, the baseline analysis has been completed with outstanding success. Indeed, the NPAP platform has provided us a very unique opportunity for Ghana to showcase what we are doing in the country to support the global effort to confront the menace of plastics in a sustainable way. We intend to use this platform to lend Ghana's support for a global agreement to end plastic waste. Secondly, if you have been following trends on sustainable management of the world's resources, circular economy is gaining prominence around the world as the economic model for the future. The reason is simple. Today's linear economic model of produce, consume, and dispose is not sustainable. It depletes the world's resources at an alarming rate and creates waste and pollution that affect us negatively in multiple ways. It destroys our environment, it affects our health, it threatens our food security, and most importantly, it forces us to spend billions in funding for waste management. There is a need for a more responsible model of consumption and production, and that is what the circular economy model is all about. In 2019, Ghana was approved for a grant funding in the amount of $7 million US by the Global Environment Facility of GEF to establish a circular economic framework for the plastic sector in Ghana. This project is being executed by UNIDO in partnership with MESTI. We are in the project preparatory grant phase of the project, during which details of actual project activities, timelines, execution entities, and budgets are being put together for submitting to GEF. Final approval and disbursement of the funds will occur in June 2021. Prior to the establishment of the framework, we are undertaking other projects in collaboration with various partners to implement other essential components for a circular economy. These include an effective and sustainable waste management system for plastics, alliance and partnerships with technology providers to transfer appropriate technologies to drive activities along the value chain, a digital platform to provide public education and awareness creation, and various schemes for the integration of the informal sector based on total inclusion and gender equity, so that no one is left behind. So these are the expectations that MESTI and the government of Ghana are looking for with our partnership under NPAP.
Great, thank you for those words, Oliver. Really great to hear from you and to understand the vision for Ghana and how we can work together through the National Plastic Action Partnership. Definitely a very ambitious road ahead, but I think that together we can make some great progress. So really appreciate you sharing those goals and objectives with us today, and we certainly look forward to working with you to further those. next on our agenda, I see in the window, you know, how these all work. You get chosen by, I think, how you pop up here in the spotlight. So Margaret Mary, I'm turning to you. Nestle have a strong presence in West Africa with a really positive approach for the circular economy. What is your vision for how a circular economy in West Africa can drive economic growth and create jobs? And I think even more importantly, can we learn from your experience as a co-chair for the National Plastic Action Partnership? What does that mean from a public-private perspective? And do you think there's more lessons for us to learn from the multi-stakeholder approach to bringing this value to other entities in Ghana and in other parts of the world?
Hello. Thank you very much, Christine, for the question. It's been a very great experience with a unique collaboration that is involving the public sector, the private sector, development partners, and civil society. From where I sit as the co-chair of the technical committee, I see that the partnership is a very good and a real example of a public-private partnership, with the private sector seen as part of the solution and getting the opportunity to be part of the discussion right at the inception stages, being part of the decision-making process as well, and then at the end of the day, taking actions. From the technical committee level and the steering board level, I see a lot of commitments. I see a lot of willingness and readiness of the members to contribute to the success of the partnership, and that is very, very encouraging. It is a multi-stakeholder approach, like you rightly said, and I see the private sector getting the opportunity to play a lot of key roles, and I'll give just a few examples here. GRIPE members are leading various topics in actions at the technical committee level, bringing our expertise to bear, but also learning from the rich experience of the other members of the technical committee, where we have civil society sitting there, and we also have development partners playing a key role. The multi-stakeholder approach has created a lot of synergies from where I sit and from what I see, enabling collaborations, connections, connecting the dots among groups and institutions who have come together to execute collective actions. And here I must say tangible actions which fuel meaningful progress and make greater impact as far as the plastic circular economy is concerned. A typical example that I will give that readily comes to mind is the ongoing discussion that we have on the setup of the extended producer responsibility. The discussion initially started with the now formalized Plastic Producer Responsibility Organization of Ghana, where GRIPE is a member, and then later with the formation of the Ghana NPAP, other partners such as the German Development Corporation and the Netherlands Enterprise Agency also expressed interest in helping the country to establish an EPR scheme. Now, instead of each organization sitting in their own comfort zones, coming up with their own extended producer responsibility, we all decided to come together, to have this discussion together, and then to come back together, form this EPR scheme that will be more formidable and more sustainable for the country to work with, and then bringing together not only the private sector, but also the public sector, not only the formal sector, but also the informal sector, to contribute to ensure that Ghana becomes a waste-free future in the very near future. Another example of synergies that I see is the COVID-19 pandemic response measures that were put in place, starting with UNDP spearheading it, and then later with GRIPE and other members of the technical committee coming in to help. Again, when we come together to work on specific actions, we are able to track progress and we are able to get a better impact of the activities that we do. So the partnership has been very helpful. It has been very cohesive, and I'm sure we will continue like this, and we are going to achieve greater heights for Ghana when it comes to ensuring that we become a waste-free country. and create a circular economy. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. I mean, I think incredible insight there, Margaret Mary, on just how this platform can create opportunities beyond just the 3 pillars that I highlighted. But of course, when they were drafted, we never anticipated COVID. But now we can actually utilize this platform as a way to pull people together to address immediate concerns such as COVID-19 and the current pandemic. So that's an excellent example, and thank you for sharing that. Paolo, perhaps you could answer a similar question, and I apologize at the beginning, I think I left out one of the key words to your platform is the waste recovery platform. You've been doing incredible work in Ghana to develop this very broad grassroots ecosystem. And I understand that there's quite a bit that you've been working on, and there's some good synergies and overlaps with the NPAP. And I wonder if you could think more and give us some thoughts on how our 2 platforms can work together to serve the broader ecosystem.
Thank you, Christine. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
All right. Thank you, Christine, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our audience. So allow me maybe to start my response by giving a very short overview about the waste recovery platform for the benefit of those who don't know about it. In a nutshell, the waste recovery platform is a community of stakeholders that are part of Ghana's waste management ecosystem. And its main objective is basically to connect these stakeholders with each other, with resources, with ideas. And some of the key features of the platform is that it's about convening stakeholders. It's going to be a digital platform as well as a repository of data information. It promotes innovation, awareness, and advocacy. And over the past 2.5 years, I would say, UNDP has been facilitating a multi-stakeholder process to co-design the process. And about 300 stakeholders have been involved in this process. I see some of them among the participants, and I salute them. When GPAP and the Ministry of Environment of Ghana started to plan for the launch of Ghana NPAP, we could clearly see how the 2 initiatives, the platform and NPAP, shared similar objectives and to some extent also approaches. And what I would really like us to, what I would like to highlight is that both initiatives place importance on the fact that the journey towards circular economy requires collaborative problem solving, engagement, partnership across as many stakeholders as possible. So really they both give very much importance on connecting stakeholders, bringing stakeholders together. So having recognized that we share a similar philosophy, despite maybe some differences in approaches, since the very beginning, there was a clear commitment to align the 2 initiatives to collaborate, to support each other activities so that we could connect and amplify our individual efforts to promote circular economy. And in the past 1 year since the launch of NPAP, this is exactly what we have been doing. And I would like to mention a couple of examples. The first one, which was already hinted by Margaret Mary, is about COVID-19 response. After COVID-19 hit Ghana, the waste recovery platform managed to convince stakeholders to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on the waste management ecosystem and to discuss solutions. And as a result, a few members of the platform came together to design an awareness campaign to really project the important role that waste collectors and pickers play in society and also during the pandemic, and also to mobilize resources to protect these waste pickers and collectors from the pandemic. So now NPAP has also come on board, has picked up this campaign and is liaising with its network of partners, also at the global level, to expand the outreach of the campaign. So this is a clear example. Another one that I could mention is from the digital sphere. So the waste recovery platform has created an app to facilitate the trading of waste. So basically to connect waste sellers with those who recycle or recover waste. We call it Uber for Waste. At the same time, NPAP is facilitating the piloting of a technology that, in a nutshell, is able to record data about the materials that are being collected and also how these materials flow through the entire value chain. So now what is happening is that the two technical teams behind these two technologies are working together to make sure that the two digital solutions talk to each other and can fit the overall system with data and information in an integrated manner. So I could go on and on, but I know my time is up. But what I would really like to say in conclusion is that I think we are really a good example of collaboration where it's not about duplication, but rather mutual reinforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. I appreciate those insights, and also if I can point out, and I saw also that Margaret Mary has also done this. It's fantastic that you're utilizing the chat function to put together YouTube videos that will help the audience also to engage a little bit more. So I would also encourage everybody who's participating to take a look at the chat box, because the participants are also adding bits and pieces to add, that only build on the comments that they're already sharing. So, so I wanted also finally to turn to Clem. Sorry, Clem, to last but not least here again. First, I was going to ask you, the Coca-Cola Company, thank you for being one of the founding members of the Global Plastic Action Partnership. Be really curious to hear from you. What are some of the most important learnings that have come from Coca-Cola in dealing with the National Plastic Action Partnership, but also as you're thinking about transitioning Coca-Cola more to a circular economy, what are some of the steps and how can the impact support you in that? And then finally, if we can add to that, because I know recycling is so important to Coca-Cola in meeting your RPET goals, we also have a question from the audience asking, how can somebody get more engaged in recycling? Are there funding opportunities, etc.? So maybe you can even talk ever so highly around the whole recycling infrastructure that you're engaged in from Coca-Cola's point of view, and what role can the National Plastic Action Partnership help or play in order to help and progress that? Clem.
Thank you very much, Kristen. It's a great pleasure to be on this platform. I think first, let me just start by saying that for us at Coca-Cola, we have a global vision of a world without waste. Our packaging materials are not waste, but they can be recycled for productive uses. And this is something that we are so materials by the year 2025. We are currently at 88% because that is key. The second is to ensure that we are able to use at least 50% recycled content in every of our packaging materials by the year 2030, because that's about the only way we can ensure that, the waste is recycled back into use, and therefore, we can afford to take a huge amount of plastics out of the environment. The third commitment, obviously, is to ensure that we are able to collect and recycle the equivalent volume of the packaging materials that we sell in the market by the year 2030. So these are very ambitious commitments. And, it's not a commitment that acting alone as a Coca-Cola company we can achieve. So that is why, a platform like the NPAP for us is very critical and very, very strategic. Because I think the first advantage that we have from it is that it brings multi-stakeholders together for collaboration. And I think Margaret Mary has talked about that, and Paulo has talked about that, because that is the key. Okay, it's about everyone coming together, government, private sector companies like us, the civil society organizations, and of course, the MSMEs, who are the startups that are driving the collection system. So it's not a time for finger pointing, but it's about everyone coming to the table, bringing their capability to create solutions that are sustainable and that are effective to addressing the issue. I think the second opportunity that we have with NPAP is being able to create that policy and regulatory framework, similar to what Margaret talked about in terms of EPR, that then brings everyone together and creates some sort of role sorts, especially within the industry, who does what, and everyone is bringing their resources to the table to ensure that we can all have a pool of funds to invest and support those who are, involved in the recycling and collection business. The third one, obviously, is to create, policies and regulations that then keeps the environment, favorable for investors who are investing in recycling infrastructure. And I think Ghana has taken a lead in that area by the 7-year tax holiday that, was granted for investors who are building recycling infrastructure in the country. And I think that is very important because recycling is a cost-intensive business and it's a margin business. At the end of the day, the product has to be cost-effective and competitive in the international scene for a recycler to be successful. So being able to provide those kind of incentives would be critical. And so a platform like the NPAP creates that opportunity. One, bringing stakeholders together, ensuring there is a pool of resources, and of course, closing the loop in terms of the policy and the regulation that enables us to achieve that. So I think that is a critical aspect, that it plays. And there are also, other platforms in that area. For us as a company, because we operate in almost every market in the world, and of course in every market, in Africa, it's important for us to ensure that these successes are not happening at the national level, but there is also, a regional approach to it. Because the truth is, the plastic challenge cannot be solved by any one country alone. Remember, plastics travel across the seas as well, and we're all interconnected. So plastic flows from Lagos, from Luanda, and goes across the coast and ends up, probably in Ghana or from Ghana to South Africa. And so there is a need for everyone to come together. And that is why we're also driving at the regional level, platforms similar to the NPAP that can ensure that the governments of the region, the corporations of the region are coming together to create a regional, policy that can enable that. Now, one critical thing around, resolving the plastic issue on the continent is first and foremost, we need to create offtake. When people collect plastics, what are they going to do with it? Okay. Currently, we know that the export windows are drying up. China has imposed a lot of restrictions. A lot of countries, have banned the importation of plastic waste. And so Africa's plastic waste is going to remain in Africa. And the question is, what are we going to do with it? And that is where the issue of the recycled PET becomes very important. For us to have the ability to recycle the waste bottles back into food grade quality that the industry can reuse. When the industry begins to reuse the PET bottles, then there is the opportunity for those who are collecting to have a market for what they have collected. And for those who are recycling to also have an effective demand for what they have recycled. Because fiber industry alone cannot take the volume of bottles we have on the continent. So I think it's important, when we talk about having the RPET standard, it's a critical area that I believe the Ghanaian government needs to close the loop so that the beautiful work that has been done can culminate in the ability of the industry to reuse the plastics for the purpose of producing new. And therefore, we create a closed loop and also, a circular economy for the plastic waste on the continent. And that is very important. Related to that is the issue, trade harmonization within the region. Because we see that the markets within the West Africa region in particular, and Africa generally, are very small markets. And very few of them can sustain a recycling infrastructure. Therefore, it's important to have a regional approach that allows the movement of plastic waste, of course, subject to regulations. And then industries that are located in Ghana, for instance, can import plastics from Benin Republic, from Togo, from Cote d'Ivoire, to be able to build the level of skill that is required. So I think it's a combination of the national approach plus the regional approach for us to then build an effective framework for sustainably resolving the plastic issue on the continent.
Thank you, Clem, so much. I actually was going to ask you about some of the barriers and opportunities, but I think you covered that very well and I think it's incredibly poignant for us to think about both the financial barriers as well as the regional effects that are needed through trade negotiations in West Africa, being able to move whether plastic waste across borders. But I really appreciate also the insights that you've described around the 7-year tax holiday that might attract greater financing. So interestingly enough, you were answering quite a few of the questions that I had in store for you down the road. If I could quickly I wanted to ask some follow-up questions, but there was one from the audience that I thought I might ask Margaret Mary, if there was one around, because Nestle are also involved in cocoa and other agricultural initiatives, we had a question come in, and I wondered if you might be able to reflect on this, because there's a question around, can the National Plastic Action Partnership also provide sustainable solutions for plastic waste that's generated throughout the agriculture value chains? And I'm thinking, around Nestle's business model, and obviously we all know that plastic waste is not just in packaging, but plastic waste can be generated from other parts of our value chains. And I just wonder if there might be a reflection there from Nestle's point of view, and are there learnings even from our platform approach with the NPAP that might be able to help some other sectors like agriculture in creating sustainable solutions? There you go. Sorry, Margaret Mary, we've got you on mute. Let's see if we can. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I see a lot of opportunity there. Plastic packaging that may be coming from the agriculture sector throughout the value chain, for those to be recycled as well. The good thing is that as an institution, a company, we are not only looking at the plastic packaging waste that we generate, we look at other plastic packaging waste that are generated in the country, which will also include those coming from the agricultural sector. There, I know most of them use, especially for seedlings, will be using LDP, HDP, which we have people on the ground currently that are collecting and recycling. Now, just to give you a bit on what Nestle is doing, that if we extend, I'm sure could cover a lot of the waste that are coming from the agriculture sector also. And we inaugurated our Institute of Packaging Science about a year ago. And what we are doing, which could also help in other sectors, is coming up with refillable or reusable packaging solutions, so that it's not just a one-time use. The packaging material is such that you can reuse it, or it comes in a size where you can reuse it for other solutions, even after the primary product is consumed. And we are also looking at coming up with simplified packaging materials. And then we are exploring also, which I'm sure can also work in the agri sector, paper-based materials and bio-based, compostable, biodegradable materials as packaging materials. I must say that we are making a lot of progress, yes. In 2019, about 87% of our total packaging by weight and 66% of our total plastic packaging was recyclable or reusable. But I know that this is still not enough. There's still a lot of work out there, and we are working hard and making progress at this as well. Now I'm looking at putting out there some information that even helps the consumer that is using the product. It might be an agricultural product, commodity, so a raw material that is packaged in plastics. Is there some information on the packaging material that informs the general public as to how they should properly dispose of the packaging material? And these are things that we look as a company are doing on all our packaging materials to ensure that consumers that consume our products are disposing them in the right way. These are actions that demonstrate our action to accelerate our ambition of getting all our plastic packaging materials recyclable or reusable by 2025. Now, stepping out of Nestle and looking at what other companies can do or other associations and groups can do, because the work is a collective one. It is collaboration, just as Clem said, and to be able to transform our packaging materials and to be able to have a circular economy, we need everyone playing one role or the other. And that is why we try to join coalitions. In Ghana, we have the Ghana Recycling Initiative by private enterprises under the Association of Ghana Industries. This is a private coalition that is harnessing the expertise and experiences of members in partnership with the government, and here MSC plays a key role in implementing initiatives and then educating the general public. This is very important. Everyone, irrespective of the sector that you belong to, everyone needs to be educated to ensure that the right things are done, wastes are properly disposed of, they are collected and they are recycled. GRIPE, for instance, partnered with the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, where we used plastic to come up with plastic modified concrete blocks. And these have been used to come up or to manufacture a sanitary facility for a public school in Ghana. And some of these plastics may be coming from the agricultural sector. So there are huge opportunities out there that we can take advantage of to help us transform our plastic waste into very usable items and giving them a second life. The other thing that we have done, and this is not in the agriculture sector, but along the beaches, is that GRIPE has inaugurated a permanent buyback center at Gamashie community in Accra, where we are encouraging the inhabitants to collect their plastics and come sell them to us. And then we move them forward for recycling. This is creating a lot of jobs in the communities and improving livelihoods. And this is also done under the Ghana NPAP. Nestle on its own has initiated a Tricycle Project. This Tricycle Project in collaboration with the GRIPE and Nestle, what we have done is providing enablers to plastic waste collectors, giving them tricycles, giving them other implements and PPEs that will help them collect the waste. And a number of the other members on the GRIPE platform are also doing similar projects. Walter, FunMilk, Coca-Cola are all doing similar projects to help with plastic waste management. Going forward, just as Claire mentioned, education and awareness creation is key. Very, very important so that people can change behavior and dispose of plastics the right way. Clem has already mentioned policy and regulatory framework, so I need not go on that. But there's still some work that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret Mary. If I can build on that, I think you gave some really incredible insights there. I want to ask both Oliver and Paolo a question based off of that and building in some of the insights provided by the audience. I'll ask both of them and then you can both build off of these because, you know, we heard you talk, and Oliver, I'd probably ask you, in addition to what Margaret Mary explained about the creation of these blocks and bags and things that they're creating from, you know, new innovative ways that products are utilizing plastic waste. We're seeing a lot of youth coming into the space of recycling. And I'd love your thoughts on, is there anything the government can do to encourage that sector? And then before you answer that, I'll also, Paolo, I might ask you that same question, both around from the innovative perspective, but you also as UNDP have been working within the space of the SDG 12, sustainable consumption and production. And is there a way for us to build off of this, what the youth are doing, and to create education, as Margaret Mary said, for others, to bring everybody along on this journey? So I might ask you, Oliver, for 2 to 3 quick minute response on there, and then Paolo, over to you for your thoughts on how do we bring others along on this, and are there incentives that the government and or others can do to support the growth of this innovative sector?
Okay, thank you once again, Christine. One of the things that we are doing under NPAP is the establishment or a vision to create what we call a center of excellence for circular economy in Ghana. Basically, the vision behind this regional center of excellence is to establish a resource recovery secretariat to coordinate all plastics related activities in Ghana and be able to present a face for plastics management in the country. This initiative has already started, and the Secretariat will become operational in the first quarter of 2021. Now, part of this is what we call the establishment of strategic technology centers for environment, climate change, waste management, and circular economy in Ghana and then the sub-region. Among the activities to be pursued at the strategic technology centers are: 1, research and innovation, technical training, commercialization, that is the piloting and prototyping of research output and innovation, and then providing consultancy services. The strategic technology centers will be established and operated with private sector participation. Now, the commercialization of a research discovery or an innovation in plastics management will involve a range of activities which can be grouped under two general categories. The first one is technical proof of concept studies. This will demonstrate that a promising technology or discovery or innovation arising from basic research or innovation can be effective in a real world setting. And then a proof of market is work to develop the technology into a commercially attractive proposition, developing a business case, identifying potential customers and markets for the product, conducting market research, manufacturing and testing prototypes, etc. Now, these are all opportunities that are open to young people, researchers and innovators in the country who want to play an active role within the plastics value chain. And we encourage all those who are interested and are looking for opportunities in this value chain to be part of what we are doing under NPAP. And when the center becomes operational in 2021, to come and take advantage of all the opportunities that the center will provide.
We look forward to that, Oliver. We will be partnering with you and promoting that across the NPAP. So thank you for that. And Paolo, again, you might want to even build off of Mr. Boakye's comments there, but knowing so much of what you're doing also in the space of behavior change and education, you know, within SDG 12, would love to hear what are some of the lessons we can also take on board as we progress further.
Thanks. So you also mentioned about all these issues with innovation, and indeed our experience has really shown that communities can be key drivers in offering innovative solutions for promoting circular economy. In Ghana, for example, through our Waste Recovery Innovation Challenge, or also the work of our Accelerator Lab, we are really seeing a steady growth in local innovators. A lot of them, it has been mentioned, are young people. Some are in the formal sector, some are in the informal sector. And we have really been amazed about their ability to test and iterate their innovation very quickly, their ability to tap into trends through their networks. And you can really see that agility and experimentation are inbuilt in their DNA. So there are really a lot of lessons that we can learn from our local innovators. But then the big question is, and this is where I connect myself to what Mr. Boakye said and also the other speakers, how can this then grassroots innovation have an impact at scale in promoting circular economy for plastics? So we all know that plastic waste is a complex issue that requires an integrated and inclusive response. So as far as UNDP is concerned, at least as part of our overall, let me say, philosophy behind our interventions on circular economy, there are a few issues that we believe are needed to help with that transition and bringing innovations to scale. One, you just mentioned it as second part of the question, is really the very big important role that education and awareness raising among citizens play, because that is key to shift consumption habits and behaviors. And really, we can never underestimate the role that communities and households play in making circular economy work. Our second element is about economic feasibility and sustainability. I think Clem mentioned that earlier, because sometimes still now, often the cost of collecting and processing recyclable materials often outweighs the value of it as a commodity. And what we have also seen from the ground is that often these innovators do not have strong business models and struggle to attract investments. So what we think here is key is, first of all, to provide support to these small enterprises on how to run their business, how to attract investments. But also we think it is very important for these businesses to come together to form partnerships so that they can achieve more economies of scale and also have a strong negotiation power. A third point is that these bottom-up approaches really need to be complemented by top-down approaches to have policies that create incentives for circular economy. And we believe that the plastic management policy that Ghana has developed is really a good example of how these incentives can be provided and how you mainstream circular economy. And I must say that we also see a great opportunity from the nationally determined contributions, because it is known that effective waste management, the circular economy have a strong climate change mitigation potential. But my last point is that, is again linked to what we have been discussed so far, that to achieve all of the above, really what you need is a multi-stakeholder approach in a way that all relevant stakeholders are taken on board, they can pledge their commitment, an approach that ensures social inclusion so that everyone's voice is heard. We have mentioned that we have a large informal sector working in the space, so how can their voice be heard? And so we believe this is what is going to trigger those multi-stakeholder partnerships that can bring these innovations from the grassroots to scale. So here again is where you see really the added value of initiatives such as MPAP and the Waste Recovery Platform.
Great, thank you for that, Paolo. Really great insights. We have about 4 minutes left before I know other people are probably wanting to go to other panels. There's so much happening. It's such a rich week. So many additional questions that I wanted to turn to the panel. Around EPR, we had some incredibly rich questions come in that we will certainly look to continue to build off of. Hopefully we managed to answer quite a few of the questions that came in today from the audience, but really some great insights also shared. I appreciate so much what we heard today from the lessons that we can take away from UNDP, the Waste Recovery Platform, but also within GRIPE and the technical committee members of the NPAP. As Margaret Mary pointed out, there's a collective call for action beyond just announcements, right? And Clem has talked about Coca-Cola's commitments to recycling, the infrastructure, the informal sector, which is so important, not just in general, but certainly in the immediate because of the recent COVID-19 efforts that have been bringing together so many members here on the panel, but throughout the technical committee. There was a great question, by the way, that we didn't get to around behavior change. And that even in developed countries like the United Kingdom, you won't get anywhere with circular economy without engagement from the consumers. So how do we bring the consumers along on that battle? So, that journey. So another conversation for us to add to the next conversation that we will all be having, I'm sure many of these as we continue. So, and then finally, as Paolo just pointed out, there's such an importance here of the broader ecosystem. How do we build in all of the players, not duplicate efforts, but highlight each other's works, build off of each other's works, and ensure that everything is actually being amplified rather than duplicated and replicated. So from myself as the director of the Global Plastic Action Partnership, I feel like a lot of great wisdom shared today. Obviously, we still have a lot of work ahead, but it's quite clear that with partners like these around the table, together we can certainly make a difference and begin to truly fight the plastic menace and make positive impact for all. So without further ado, I'd like to thank all of today's panelists, Oliver, Paolo, Margaret Mary and Clem, such incredible insights, really fantastic thoughts. Appreciate your time and really appreciate all the participants for joining us this afternoon, for bringing your commitments and your very insightful questions to the team. I know we didn't get quite to all of them, but again, we will certainly be watching this space for more information, and we welcome your further engagement. We look forward to connecting with you in the future and in the present as well via Twitter and email, as you can see here. So again, thank you all, and I wish you a very pleasant afternoon.
Thank you.